Imagine being the first person to witness a discovery hidden inside the Great Pyramid for thousands of years. In 1993, a small exploration robot was sent into a narrow stone shaft so tight that no human could ever crawl through it. Slowly, meter by meter, it traveled deeper into one of the most famous structures ever built. After nearly 60 meters, its lights revealed something nobody expected to find. That single moment would spark decades of new expeditions, advanced robotic missions, cutting-edge scanning technology, and one of the most remarkable archaeological investigations ever undertaken. But every new discovery seemed to raise even more questions. Why did that single discovery change the search for the Great Pyramid forever? Why was that mysterious stone door placed there? And what might still be waiting beyond passages that no person has ever entered? Tonight, we'll retrace that extraordinary investigation, explore the hidden passages inside the Great Pyramid, examine the remarkable technology used to search its interior, and follow the clues that continue to inspire new discoveries even today. If you enjoy relaxing journeys through history and archaeology, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now dim the lights, settle into a comfortable position, and join me as we venture deep inside one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. This is the true story of the Great Pyramid's hidden secrets. Imagine standing beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza on a quiet morning. For more than 4,500 years, this enormous monument has dominated the Egyptian landscape, surviving powerful earthquakes, violent sandstorms, invading armies, and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Ancient travelers stood before it with wonder. Greek historians tried to explain it. Roman emperors admired it. Medieval explorers searched for hidden treasures inside it. Modern scientists filled it with cameras, lasers, and sophisticated instruments. Yet despite centuries of exploration, the Great Pyramid has never completely surrendered its secrets. Even today, archaeologists continue to ask questions that no one has been able to answer with certainty. It is remarkable to think that humanity has walked on the moon, explored the deepest parts of the oceans, and sent spacecraft beyond our solar system. Yet there are still places hidden inside this ancient monument that no human being has ever entered. The mystery does not begin with legends or myths. It begins with unanswered questions that continue to challenge historians, engineers, and archaeologists alike. For generations, researchers believed they had already discovered everything important inside the pyramid. The descending passage had been mapped centuries earlier. The ascending passage, the Grand Gallery, the King's Chamber, and the Queen's Chamber had all been carefully measured and documented. Visitors from around the world could walk through these famous corridors, leading many people to believe that the Great Pyramid had given up all of its secrets long ago. But a few details refused to fit that conclusion. Deep within the structure, hidden inside the walls themselves, were 4 incredibly narrow shafts. 2 extended upward from the King's Chamber, while 2 more began inside the Queen's Chamber. Unlike the larger passages, these shafts were so small that no person could crawl through them. Barely 20 centimeters wide, they disappeared into complete darkness, twisting gently through millions of carefully placed limestone blocks. For centuries, nobody knew exactly why they existed. Some believed they were simple ventilation shafts. Others suggested they had symbolic religious purposes. allowing the spirit of the king to travel towards specific stars after death. Still, others suspected they might lead to hidden chambers that had never been discovered. The problem was simple. No human body could fit inside them. They remained silent, inaccessible, and mysterious for thousands of years. As technology advanced during the 20th century, archaeologists slowly began to wonder whether these forgotten passages deserved another look. By the early 1990s, miniature robotics had reached a point where machines could travel through spaces far smaller than any human explorer. Instead of forcing their way through ancient stone, scientists could now send carefully designed robots equipped with cameras and lights into places that had remained untouched since the reign of Pharaoh Khufu. It was an exciting idea, but no one knew what, if anything, would be waiting at the end of those narrow shafts. Most experts expected nothing more than rough stone, construction debris, or a simple dead end. After all, countless theories had already surrounded the Great Pyramid for centuries, and many had collapsed under careful scientific investigation. There was little reason to expect that one more expedition would rewrite history. Yet curiosity remained stronger than certainty. In 1993, German engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink developed a small robotic explorer known as Upuaut, a name taken from an ancient Egyptian deity, often translated as the opener of the ways. Unlike previous exploration equipment, Upuaut was specifically designed to travel through the tiny shafts hidden inside the pyramid. It moved slowly on rubber tracks, carrying a camera, lights, and delicate electronic systems capable of transmitting live images back to researchers waiting outside. Every centimeter forward represented territory that no human eyes had ever seen before. The mission itself seemed straightforward. Guide the robot through the southern shaft of the Queen's chamber, document everything it encountered, and finally answer a question that had remained unresolved for thousands of years. No one expected that this quiet scientific experiment would become one of the most famous archaeological investigations of the modern era. As the tiny machine disappeared into the darkness, its camera revealed rough limestone walls only inches away on either side. The shaft climbed steadily upward, forcing the robot to advance carefully over small irregularities in the ancient stone floor. Meter after meter, the camera continued forward. 20 meters became 30. 30 became 40. The deeper it traveled, the greater the anticipation grew among the researchers watching every frame appear on their monitors. For the first time since the pyramid was completed more than 4 millennia earlier, something built by human hands was returning to a place where no person had ever been. None of them could know that only a short distance ahead, the little robot was about to encounter something that would transform the study of the Great Pyramid forever. The atmosphere inside the control room grew quieter with every passing minute. No one wanted to interrupt the steady stream of images arriving from deep within the Great Pyramid. Upuaut continued its careful climb through the narrow southern shaft of the Queen's chamber, its small lights revealing limestone that had remained untouched since the pyramid was completed around 2560 BC. Every new meter felt like entering a part of history that had been completely isolated from the outside world for more than 4,000 years. The shaft itself was unlike anything the engineers had expected. Rather than being perfectly straight, It rose gradually with small changes in direction and slight imperfections in the stone. The walls showed remarkable precision despite their hidden location. Ancient builders had carefully shaped and aligned the limestone blocks, even though no one was ever meant to enter this passage. This detail alone raised an important question. Why would so much effort be invested in constructing a corridor that appeared to have no practical purpose? If it had been intended simply for ventilation, the extraordinary level of craftsmanship seemed difficult to explain. As the robot continued upward, anticipation slowly replaced confidence. The researchers had expected the shaft to end naturally or perhaps open into another known chamber. Instead, the passage simply continued, climbing deeper into the heart of the monument. Then, after traveling nearly 60 meters, the unexpected finally appeared. The camera illuminated a smooth limestone slab positioned directly across the shaft. It was not a collapse of loose stones or natural debris. It was a carefully shaped block that completely sealed the passage. Even more surprising were two small copper fittings protruding from its lower half. They resembled tiny handles, although no one could say whether that had been their original purpose. For a few moments, the room fell almost completely silent. The discovery was unlike anything previously documented inside the Great Pyramid. Archaeologists had spent centuries exploring known chambers, yet no one had ever reported a sealed doorway hidden inside one of the pyramid's mysterious shafts. The images immediately sparked intense discussion. Was this truly a door? Was it intended to be opened? Or was it simply another construction feature whose purpose had long been forgotten? The copper fittings made the mystery even greater. Copper was one of the most valuable metals available in ancient Egypt during the 4th dynasty. Producing it required mining, transport, and skilled craftsmanship. The decision to place carefully shaped copper pieces onto a hidden limestone block inside a passage that no human could enter seemed extraordinary. Why decorate something that was never meant to be seen? Some researchers suggested the fittings might have been used to move the stone into position during construction. Others believed they had symbolic meaning connected to royal funerary beliefs. A few wondered whether the block marked the entrance to a hidden chamber that had remained sealed since the reign of Pharaoh Khufu himself. Almost immediately, newspapers and television programs around the world began reporting the discovery. Headlines spoke of a mysterious door hidden inside the Great Pyramid. Public imagination quickly filled the empty space beyond the limestone block with lost treasures, forgotten burial chambers, secret documents, or even legendary artifacts. Popular books and documentaries offered increasingly dramatic explanations. Some claimed the robot had nearly reached Khufu's true burial chamber. Others imagined vast hidden halls stretching through the center of the pyramid. As often happens, speculation traveled much faster than evidence. Archaeologists responded far more cautiously. They reminded the public that a single stone block could not reveal its purpose simply by being photographed. The scientific method required patience. Every possibility had to be tested against the available evidence rather than excitement or wishful thinking. Yet even the most cautious experts admitted that the discovery raised important new questions. If one sealed block existed at the end of the shaft, could others exist elsewhere? Why had the builders stopped the passage so carefully instead of allowing it to continue? Most importantly, what, if anything, existed beyond it? These questions remained unanswered because the robot had reached the limit of its mission. It had no equipment capable of drilling through the limestone or looking beyond the obstacle. The expedition ended exactly where the mystery truly began. For the first time in modern history, archaeologists knew that the Great Pyramid still contained at least one carefully concealed architectural feature that no human had ever passed. The little robot slowly turned around and began its journey back through the narrow shaft, carrying with it only a few minutes of video footage. Those images would inspire new investigations, new technologies, and decades of debate. What had started as a routine engineering project had become one of archaeology's greatest unsolved mysteries. And somewhere beyond that silent limestone barrier, the Great Pyramid continued to guard its secret, waiting patiently for the next generation of explorers. Long before the Great Pyramid dominated the horizon of Giza, the ancient Egyptians were already dreaming of eternity. Their civilization was built around a simple but powerful belief. Death was not the end of life, but the beginning of another journey. To them, the world of the living and the world of the dead were closely connected, and preserving that connection became one of the greatest responsibilities of every pharaoh. Unlike modern rulers, the king of ancient Egypt was not seen merely as a political leader. He was believed to be a living god, the earthly representative of divine order known as Mad. His duty was to maintain balance throughout the kingdom, ensuring that the Nile flooded at the proper time, that crops continued to grow, and that harmony existed between humanity and the gods. When a pharaoh died, Egyptians believed this sacred order could continue only if his body, spirit, and burial were carefully protected. This belief shaped nearly every royal construction project for centuries. The earliest kings were not buried inside pyramids at all. During Egypt's first and second dynasties, rulers rested beneath large rectangular structures known as mastabas. Built from mud brick and later stone, these tombs protected underground burial chambers but remained relatively modest compared to what would come later. As the kingdom grew stronger and wealthier, so did the ambition of its rulers. Each generation sought to create monuments that would endure forever, reflecting both their earthly achievements and their eternal destiny. A major turning point arrived during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser around 2670 BC. His architect, Imhotep, introduced a revolutionary idea by stacking several mastabas on top of one another, creating what became the step pyramid at Saqqara. For the first time in history, an entire monumental complex was built almost entirely from carefully cut stone rather than mud brick. It was an extraordinary engineering achievement and marked the birth of pyramid construction. Yet the step pyramid was only the beginning. Over the following decades, Egyptian builders continued experimenting, searching for a smoother and more elegant form that could better symbolize the rays of the sun reaching toward the heavens. Their greatest laboratory became the reign of Pharaoh Khufu's father. Sneferu devoted enormous resources to perfecting pyramid design, and in doing so, transformed Egyptian architecture forever. His first major project, now known as the Bent Pyramid at Darsha, began with steep sides intended to create the tallest pyramid ever built. Partway through construction, however, the builders encountered serious structural problems. Cracks began appearing within the monument, forcing them to reduce the angle of the upper section. Even today, the Bent Pyramid clearly shows this sudden change in slope, preserving one of history's most visible engineering corrections. Rather than accepting failure, Sneferu ordered another pyramid to be built. This time, the builders chose a gentler angle from the beginning, creating what is now called the Red Pyramid. It became the first true smooth-sided pyramid and demonstrated that Egyptian engineers had finally learned how to construct these enormous monuments with far greater stability. The lessons learned from both pyramids would become invaluable to the next generation. When Khufu inherited the throne around 2589 BC, he also inherited decades of architectural knowledge, practical experience, and highly skilled craftsmen. Instead of beginning from scratch, his builders could improve upon everything that had already been discovered. The Great Pyramid was therefore not the product of a sudden miracle. It was the result of nearly a century of continuous experimentation, careful observation, and increasingly sophisticated engineering. Every mistake made during earlier projects helped eliminate future problems. Every success became another step toward perfection. Khufu's vision, however, went far beyond simply building another royal tomb. He wanted a monument unlike anything humanity had ever attempted. Rising originally to about 146 meters, the Great Pyramid remained the tallest structure ever built by human hands for nearly 3,800 years. More than 2 million limestone and granite blocks were assembled with astonishing precision, covering an area of roughly 13 acres. The sides were aligned almost perfectly with the 4 cardinal directions, achieving a level of accuracy that still impresses modern surveyors. Such precision required extraordinary planning long before construction even began. Yet despite its immense scale, the Great Pyramid was never intended simply to display wealth or political power. Every corridor, chamber, and stone reflected deeply rooted religious beliefs about resurrection and eternal life. The pyramid itself may have symbolized the primeval mound from which creation emerged according to Egyptian mythology, while its smooth white casing stones reflected sunlight so brilliantly that the monument could probably be seen from many kilometers away, shining across the Nile Valley like a giant beacon. To the ancient Egyptians, this was not merely architecture. It was a bridge between earth and the heavens, carefully designed to help their king complete his eternal journey among the gods. Understanding that purpose changes the way we see the Great Pyramid today. It was not built simply because it could be built. It was constructed because an entire civilization believed that the future of both their king and their world depended upon it. For centuries, one question has overshadowed almost every discussion about the Great Pyramid. How did people living more than 4,500 years ago construct a monument of such extraordinary size and precision without modern machinery? The answer is both simpler and far more impressive than many popular myths suggest. There is no convincing archaeological evidence that ancient Egyptians possessed advanced lost technology, mysterious energy sources, or knowledge borrowed from unknown civilizations. Instead, what emerges from decades of excavation is the story of remarkable planning, patient organization, skilled craftsmanship, and an understanding of engineering that was far ahead of its time. The Great Pyramid was not built by magic. It was built by people. But those people belonged to one of the most organized civilizations the ancient world had ever seen. Construction likely began years before the first stone was ever placed. Surveyors carefully selected the bedrock foundation on the Giza plateau, because it was strong, stable, and naturally elevated above the surrounding Nile Valley. The builders then leveled enormous sections of the limestone bedrock with astonishing precision. Modern measurements show that the base of the Great Pyramid varies by only a few centimeters from one corner to another, an accuracy that remains impressive even by today's engineering standards. Before a single block could be lifted, the foundation itself had to be almost perfectly flat. Most of the pyramid was built from limestone quarried directly on the Giza plateau, only a short distance from the construction site. Workers cut large blocks from the bedrock using copper chisels, wooden wedges, and heavy dolerite pounding stones. Copper alone was too soft to carve hard limestone efficiently, so craftsmen repeatedly struck the rock with rounded dolerite hammers weighing several kilograms before refining the surfaces with copper tools. The harder granite used for the king's chamber and its massive relieving chambers came from Aswan, located nearly 900 kilometers to the south. Some of these granite blocks weighed between 50 and 70 tons. Transporting such enormous stones across the Nile required careful planning and remarkable logistical coordination. During the annual flooding of the Nile, specially constructed boats carried the granite downstream toward Giza using seasonal waterways that reached much closer to the construction site than the modern river does today. Recent archaeological discoveries suggest that canals may have extended directly toward the pyramid complex, allowing heavy cargo to be unloaded only a short distance from where it was needed. Once on land, workers placed the stones onto large wooden sledges. Contrary to the popular image of thousands of people struggling to drag massive blocks across dry sand, experiments have shown that slightly wet sand dramatically reduces friction. In 2014, researchers successfully demonstrated that dampening the sand in front of a sledge makes heavy loads significantly easier to move. Interestingly, an ancient Egyptian wall painting discovered at the tomb of Jehu appears to show a worker pouring water directly in front of a large sled carrying a colossal statue, suggesting that the Egyptians themselves may have understood this simple but effective technique thousands of years ago. The greatest mystery, however, is not how the stones reached the pyramid. It is how they were lifted higher and higher as construction progressed. No complete ancient description has ever been found explaining the process, leaving modern researchers to develop several competing theories. The oldest proposal suggests a massive straight ramp extending outward from one side of the pyramid. While simple in concept, such a ramp would eventually have become enormous, possibly requiring more material than the pyramid itself. Another theory proposes a spiral ramp wrapping around the outside of the monument, allowing workers to raise stones while keeping the structure relatively compact. A third idea, introduced by French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin, argues that much of the lifting may have occurred inside the pyramid through an internal ramp hidden within its outer layers. Each theory solves certain engineering problems while creating new questions of its own. At present, none has been universally accepted, reminding us that even after centuries of study, some aspects of the construction process remain uncertain. One of the most fascinating parts of the Great Pyramid is the Grand Gallery. Rising nearly 9 meters high, this remarkable corridor is unlike anything found in earlier pyramids. Its corbelled walls narrow gradually toward the ceiling, creating both strength and elegance. Some engineers believe the gallery may have served as part of an enormous counterweight system used to raise the granite beams destined for the king's chamber. Others argue that it was designed primarily for ceremonial or structural purposes. The evidence remains incomplete, yet the precision of the gallery leaves little doubt that it played an important role during construction. Above the king's chamber lies another masterpiece of engineering. 5 small relieving chambers were built one above another to distribute the tremendous weight pressing down from millions of stone blocks above. Without them, the flat granite ceiling of the burial chamber might have cracked under the enormous pressure. This clever solution demonstrates that Egyptian builders understood the behavior of weight and structural stress in ways that continue to impress modern engineers. Even after the pyramid itself was completed, the work was not finished. Skilled craftsmen covered the entire monument with brilliantly polished white limestone casing stones quarried from Tura. Fitted together so precisely that the joints were barely visible, these smooth outer stones transformed the stepped core into a perfectly gleaming pyramid. In the sunlight, the monument would have reflected brilliant white light across the Nile Valley, making it visible from extraordinary distances. At its summit likely stood a pyramidion, perhaps covered with polished electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver that would have caught the rising and setting sun. Contrary to a long-standing myth, the Great Pyramid was not built by enslaved laborers driven by whips. Excavations south of the plateau have uncovered the remains of organized workers' villages, bakeries, breweries, kitchens, and cemeteries reserved for the labor force itself. These discoveries suggest that many workers were skilled craftsmen and seasonal laborers supported by the Egyptian state, receiving food, medical care, and proper burials in recognition of their contribution to one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements. Today, despite powerful cranes, computer modeling, and advanced machinery, recreating the Great Pyramid would still represent one of the most demanding construction projects ever attempted. That realization perhaps explains why the monument continues to inspire such admiration. It is not mysterious because we know nothing about how it was built. It is extraordinary because the more we learn about the people who built it, the more remarkable their achievement becomes. Standing outside the Great Pyramid, it is easy to imagine that its greatest secrets lie somewhere deep beneath millions of stone blocks. Yet the moment you step inside, something immediately becomes clear. The pyramid is far more than a giant pile of carefully stacked limestone. It is a carefully planned architectural masterpiece, filled with corridors, chambers, and engineering solutions unlike anything that had ever been built before. Every passage changes direction for a reason. Every chamber occupies a deliberate position. Every block appears to have been placed according to a plan that still fascinates engineers today. Rather than being a maze, the interior follows a surprisingly logical design, although many questions about its true purpose remain unanswered. The original entrance to the Great Pyramid is located on its northern face, about 17 meters above ground level. Today, visitors usually enter through a tunnel cut by the men of the Abbasid Caliph Al-Ma'mun during the 9th century, but the original entrance still survives nearby. Once inside, the first passage immediately begins descending through the bedrock beneath the pyramid. Known as the descending passage, it slopes downward at an angle of approximately 26 degrees and stretches for more than 100 meters. Walking through it today requires visitors to bend almost constantly because the ceiling is little more than 1 meter high. The walls are smooth, remarkably straight, and surprisingly precise. Despite being carved more than 4,500 years ago, the passage still feels as though it was designed by skilled modern engineers rather than ancient stoneworkers. Following the descending passage eventually leads to an unfinished underground chamber carved directly into the natural bedrock beneath the pyramid. This rough room has puzzled archaeologists for generations. Unlike the carefully finished chambers higher inside the monument, its walls remain uneven, its floor incomplete, and parts of the ceiling appear abandoned before construction was finished. Some scholars believe this chamber was part of the pyramid's original design before the builders decided to place the royal burial higher within the structure. Others argue that it may have served a symbolic purpose connected to the ancient Egyptian underworld. No written record has survived to explain why the chamber was left unfinished, leaving its purpose open to debate even today. Before reaching this underground room, however, another remarkable feature appears. Hidden behind a carefully concealed opening is the ascending passage. This narrow corridor rises upward at the same angle as the descending passage, leading explorers away from the darkness beneath the pyramid and toward its most famous chambers. It is difficult to imagine how astonishing this hidden entrance must have been for the first explorers who discovered it. Ancient builders had originally sealed the opening with massive granite plugs weighing several tons, making it almost invisible from below. The concealment was so effective that for centuries, no one knew the passage even existed. As visitors continue climbing, the confined tunnel suddenly opens into one of the most breathtaking spaces in all of ancient architecture, the Grand Gallery. After the low ceilings and narrow corridors that come before it, the transition feels almost dramatic. Rising to nearly 9 meters in height, the gallery stretches for almost 50 meters toward the heart of the pyramid. Its walls are built using a corbelled design, with each layer of stone projecting slightly inward until the ceiling narrows high above the floor. The result is both elegant and incredibly strong. Even after thousands of years, supporting millions of tons of stone above it, the gallery remains astonishingly stable. Archaeologists have long debated the true purpose of the Grand Gallery. Was it simply an impressive ceremonial corridor leading toward the king's burial chamber? Did it play an essential role during construction by helping lift enormous granite blocks into place? Or did it serve multiple functions throughout the building process and later religious ceremonies? While no definitive answer exists, the sheer precision of its construction leaves little doubt that it was among the most important spaces inside the entire monument. Every stone fits with extraordinary accuracy, creating an architectural achievement that still challenges modern understanding. Near the upper end of the Grand Gallery lies a small horizontal passage leading toward the Queen's chamber. Despite its familiar name, there is no convincing evidence that a queen was ever buried there. The chamber contains a pointed gabled ceiling, a large niche carved into its eastern wall, and 2 narrow shafts that remained sealed for thousands of years before becoming the focus of modern robotic exploration. These mysterious passages would eventually lead archaeologists to one of the greatest discoveries inside the pyramid. But at the time of their construction, their purpose remains uncertain. Their existence suggests that this room held far greater significance than its traditional name implies. Continuing beyond the Grand Gallery, another low passage leads into the King's Chamber, the highest major chamber within the Great Pyramid. Unlike the limestone used throughout much of the monument, this room is constructed almost entirely from massive red granite blocks transporting from Aswan hundreds of kilometers away. The chamber is simple, almost surprisingly so. There are no colorful paintings, no carved inscriptions, and no elaborate decorations covering the walls. At its western end rests a large granite sarcophagus, believed to have been placed inside the chamber before construction was completed because it is slightly too large to pass through the finished corridors. The silence of the room often surprises modern visitors. It feels less like a royal tomb filled with treasure and more like the calm center of an immense stone machine whose true purpose is still only partly understood. For centuries, explorers believed these chambers represented the complete interior of the Great Pyramid. Yet hidden within the walls surrounding them were narrow passages that no human being could enter. Those forgotten shafts, almost invisible beside the monument's magnificent architecture, would eventually prove that the Great Pyramid still had stories left to tell. Among all the remarkable features hidden inside the Great Pyramid, few are as mysterious as the four narrow shafts extending from the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. At first glance, they seem almost insignificant. They are only about 20 centimeters wide, far too small for any person to crawl through, and they remain almost invisible beside the monument's enormous chambers and towering Grand Gallery. Yet for more than a century, these tiny passages have inspired some of the biggest questions surrounding the pyramid. Why were they built? Where do they lead? And why did the ancient builders invest so much care in constructing corridors that nobody was ever expected to enter? The first pair of shafts begins inside the King's Chamber. Unlike the shafts connected to the Queen's Chamber, these continue all the way through the pyramid and open onto its northern and southern faces. For many years, they were described simply as air shafts because they allowed fresh air to circulate into the chamber once the outer openings became exposed. The name survived, but many Egyptologists now believe it may be misleading. The shafts are narrow, carefully aligned, and far more precisely constructed than simple ventilation passages would require. More importantly, they were built long before anyone could have imagined tourists walking inside the pyramid thousands of years later. Fresh air for future visitors could never have been their original purpose. Ancient Egyptian religion offers another possibility. The stars played a central role in Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. Certain stars were considered eternal because they never disappeared below the horizon, while others were associated with the gods or with the rebirth of the king. Some researchers have suggested that the northern shaft from the King's Chamber may once have pointed toward the circumpolar stars, often called the imperishable ones, while the southern shaft may have been aligned with Orion, a constellation closely associated with the god Osiris. In this interpretation, the shafts were not physical passageways for people but symbolic pathways for the spirit of the deceased pharaoh as he journeyed toward the heavens. Although the exact alignments have changed over thousands of years, Because of Earth's slow axial precession, computer reconstructions suggest that these celestial connections may once have been remarkably accurate. The two shafts beginning inside the Queen's chamber are even more puzzling. Unlike those connected to the King's chamber, they do not emerge on the outside of the pyramid. Instead, both remain sealed somewhere within the monument itself. This single difference changed the entire mystery. If these shafts were intended for ventilation, why were they blocked? If they were symbolic, why were they constructed with such extraordinary precision before disappearing into solid stone? For generations, no one could answer these questions because no one could reach the ends of the passages. For much of modern history, these hidden shafts received surprisingly little attention. Early explorers focused on the larger chambers where treasures, inscriptions, or burial equipment might reasonably be expected. The narrow passages seemed too small to offer anything of significance. Even when they were carefully measured during the 19th century, they remained little more than architectural curiosities. Their true importance would not become clear until technology finally made it possible to explore places that human beings could never enter themselves. As scientific understanding of the pyramid improved during the 20th century, researchers began to examine every feature with increasing precision. Surveyors noticed that the shafts were not carelessly cut tunnels, but carefully planned architectural elements integrated into the pyramid's design from the very beginning. Their walls were remarkably smooth. Their angles remained consistent over long distances. Even slight changes in direction appeared deliberate rather than accidental. This level of craftsmanship suggested that the builders considered them important enough to devote considerable time and resources to their construction. Several theories emerged. Some engineers argued that the shafts may have helped relieve pressure during construction or provided reference lines while positioning internal chambers. Others believed they formed part of complex religious symbolism that modern researchers have not yet fully understood. A few proposed that they might conceal hidden spaces beyond their visible ends. Each explanation solved certain questions while leaving others unanswered. What everyone agreed upon was that these narrow passages deserved much closer investigation. By the late 20th century, advances in miniature electronics, fiber optic cameras, and robotic engineering opened possibilities that earlier generations could scarcely imagine. For the first time, archaeologists no longer needed a human body to explore hidden spaces. Small machines could carry lights and cameras through openings only a few centimeters wide, transmitting live images back to researchers outside the pyramid. Suddenly, the inaccessible had become reachable. This technological revolution transformed the way archaeologists viewed the Great Pyramid. Instead of assuming that all important discoveries had already been made, researchers began asking a different question. What if the greatest secrets were hidden not inside the chambers people had visited for centuries, but inside the places no human being had ever entered? The Queen's chamber shafts became the obvious place to begin. Their sealed endings, unknown destination, and careful construction made them the most promising unexplored passages in the entire monument. That decision would ultimately lead to one of the most famous archaeological missions of the modern era. A small robot would enter one of these silent shafts, carrying with it the hopes of answering questions that had remained unresolved for more than 4,000 years. Instead, it would uncover an even greater mystery, one that continues to challenge archaeologists, engineers, and historians to this very day. For more than 3,000 years after the death of Pharaoh Khufu, the Great Pyramid remained one of the most recognizable landmarks on Earth. Kingdoms rose and disappeared around it. Languages changed. Religions spread across continents. Yet the pyramid continued to stand almost exactly as its builders had left it. During that long span of history, countless people looked upon its towering sides and wondered what might be hidden inside. Some believed unimaginable treasures rested within its chambers. Others imagined secret libraries filled with forgotten knowledge. Many simply wanted to understand how such a monument had been built. But for centuries, almost no one knew how to enter it. The original entrance had been carefully concealed within the northern face of the pyramid. Massive casing stones covered the exterior so precisely that the opening blended almost perfectly into the surrounding masonry. Even if someone knew the approximate location, finding the entrance without detailed knowledge would have been extremely difficult. As generations passed, and the outer casing stones were gradually removed by earthquakes and later reused in medieval Cairo, the exact location of the entrance was forgotten. The Great Pyramid had become a monument without an obvious doorway. In the early 9th century, the Abbasid Caliph Al-Ma'mun arrived in Egypt during a period of growing scientific curiosity within the Islamic world. His reign is remembered for encouraging astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and the translation of ancient texts into Arabic. Like many educated people of his time, Al-Ma'mun had heard stories about the Great Pyramid. Legends claimed it contained unimaginable riches, secret wisdom from before the Great Flood, or powerful relics left behind by ancient kings. Whether motivated by curiosity, treasure, or both, he decided to explore the monument himself. Unable to locate the original entrance, Al-Ma'mun's workers chose a far more direct solution. They began cutting a tunnel straight into the northern face of the pyramid using iron tools, hammers, and relentless determination. The work was slow and exhausting. Every meter required breaking through enormous limestone blocks that had remained untouched for thousands of years. The tunnel advanced only a short distance each day, and according to later accounts, many workers began losing hope that they would ever discover anything inside. Then something unexpected happened. As the excavation continued, the workers reportedly heard the sound of a stone falling somewhere beyond the wall they were breaking through. The noise suggested that an empty space existed nearby. Encouraged by this discovery, they changed direction slightly and continued digging until they finally broke into one of the pyramid's original internal passages. Whether the story is entirely accurate or embellished over time is impossible to know, but the tunnel created during Al-Ma'mun's expedition still exists today. In fact, nearly every modern visitor enters the Great Pyramid through this 9th century passage, rather than the original entrance built during Khufu's reign. To the disappointment of those hoping for unimaginable wealth, the explorers found no rooms overflowing with gold or jewels. The king's chamber contained only an empty granite sarcophagus. No royal mummy remained. No elaborate funerary equipment survived. If treasures had once existed inside the pyramid, they had almost certainly been removed long before Al-Ma'mun's expedition arrived. Some historians believe ancient tomb robbers entered the monument centuries earlier, possibly not long after the collapse of Egypt's Old Kingdom. Others argue that we simply do not know when the burial chamber was emptied. The evidence is incomplete, and the true story has been lost to history. Despite failing to uncover legendary riches, Al-Mamun's tunnel accomplished something far more important. It reopened the Great Pyramid to the world. For the first time in many centuries, scholars, travelers, and later archaeologists could once again study the monument from the inside. Their observations gradually replaced myths with careful measurements, sketches, and written descriptions. Instead of asking only what treasure might be hidden inside, people began asking how the pyramid had been designed, why its chambers were arranged as they were, and what its architecture could reveal about the civilization that built it. Over the following centuries, visitors from across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond continued exploring the interior. Some carved their names into the stone, leaving marks that are still visible today. Others produced the first reasonably accurate drawings of the chambers and passages. While many early accounts mixed careful observation with imagination, each expedition added another small piece to the growing understanding of the monument. The Great Pyramid slowly transformed from a place of legend into a subject of scientific investigation. Yet even these early explorers shared one important limitation. They could examine only the passages that were large enough for a person to enter. The narrow shafts hidden inside the walls remained completely inaccessible. They measured them where possible, speculated about their purpose, and then moved on. No one imagined that those tiny passages, ignored for centuries, would eventually become the focus of one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. As the 19th century approached, a new generation of researchers would arrive with better instruments, greater precision, and a determination to measure every stone of the Great Pyramid more carefully than ever before. By the beginning of the 19th century, the Great Pyramid had already fascinated travelers, historians, and treasure hunters for hundreds of years. Yet most investigations still relied on little more than curiosity, rough measurements, and educated guesses. That slowly began to change as archaeology evolved from adventurous exploration into a disciplined scientific field. Instead of searching for gold or hidden chambers at random, researchers started asking more careful questions. Every block, every passage, and every angle became a source of information. The Great Pyramid was no longer viewed simply as an ancient wonder. It became an enormous historical document waiting to be read. One of the earliest scholars to transform pyramid research was the British engineer Sir Flinders Petrie. Arriving in Egypt during the 1880s, Petrie approached the monument with a level of precision that had rarely been seen before. Rather than relying on legends or assumptions, he spent months measuring nearly every accessible part of the pyramid. Using carefully calibrated instruments, he recorded the dimensions of passages, chambers, casing stones, and the monument's overall alignment. His work revealed something astonishing. The builders had achieved an extraordinary degree of accuracy. The pyramid's four sides differed in length by only a remarkably small margin, and its orientation toward true north was so precise that modern surveyors still regard it as one of the finest examples of ancient engineering. Petrie's meticulous measurements became the foundation upon which nearly all later pyramid research would be built. Throughout the 20th century, archaeologists continued refining their understanding of the monument. Improved photography allowed researchers to document details that earlier generations had overlooked. Structural engineers examined how enormous loads were distributed through the pyramid's interior. Geologists studied the limestone bedrock beneath the monument to better understand why this location had been chosen. Egyptologists compared inscriptions, construction records, and nearby cemeteries, gradually building a far more complete picture of the people who had worked on the plateau. Piece by piece, the Great Pyramid became less mysterious in some ways, and even more fascinating in others. One of the most important discoveries occurred not inside the pyramid itself, but just beyond its walls. During the late 20th century, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a large workers' settlement near Giza. Excavations revealed bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread each day, breweries that supplied large quantities of beer, kitchens, storage facilities, workshops, and carefully organized living quarters. Nearby cemeteries contained the grave of workers who had participated in royal construction projects. Many were buried with respect and even honored with inscriptions describing their roles. These findings fundamentally changed the way historians understood pyramid construction. The popular image of endless lines of enslaved laborers working under brutal conditions was replaced by evidence of skilled craftsmen, engineers, stonecutters, and seasonal laborers, organized by one of the most efficient administrative systems of the ancient world. At the same time, advances in technology allowed scientists to investigate the pyramid without damaging it. Engineers introduced laser surveying, which could measure surfaces with extraordinary precision. High-resolution digital mapping created detailed three-dimensional models of the monument. Ground-penetrating radar and other non-invasive techniques helped researchers search for hidden structural features while leaving the ancient stone untouched. Instead of breaking through walls, modern archaeology increasingly relied on methods that preserved the monument exactly as it had survived for more than 4 millennia. These new technologies also encouraged researchers to revisit old questions. Why were certain chambers located where they were? Why did the Grand Gallery possess such an unusual design? What purpose did the narrow shaft serve? Every improvement in measurement produced fresh clues, but complete answers remained surprisingly elusive. The Great Pyramid seemed to reveal just enough information to encourage further investigation while continuing to protect its deepest secrets. Perhaps the most significant change brought by modern archaeology was not technological, but philosophical. Earlier generations often approached the pyramid expecting to confirm legends. Modern researchers instead accepted uncertainty as part of scientific investigation. Rather than forcing the evidence to support dramatic conclusions, archaeologists learned to distinguish between established facts, reasonable interpretations, and pure speculation. This careful approach sometimes produced fewer sensational headlines, but it steadily built a far more reliable understanding of Egypt's greatest monument. By the late 20th century, one mystery stood above all the others. The narrow shafts extending from the Queen's chamber remained unexplored beyond the limits of human reach. Their destinations were unknown. Their purpose remained uncertain. Traditional excavation methods could do nothing. The passages were simply too narrow for even the smallest person to enter. If answers were ever to be found, they would require an entirely different kind of explorer. Fortunately, technology had reached a point where such an explorer could finally be built. It would not breathe, climb, or carry a torch. Instead, it would move silently through passages barely 20 centimeters wide, carrying cameras, lights, and the hopes of archaeologists around the world. For the first time since the Great Pyramid was completed more than 4,500 years earlier, humanity was about to see places that no human eyes had ever witnessed. The discoveries that followed would once again remind the world that even the most carefully studied monument on Earth could still hold extraordinary surprises. By the early 1990s, archaeologists had measured nearly every chamber and corridor inside the Great Pyramid that a human being could physically reach. The King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the descending passages had all been documented in extraordinary detail. Yet the narrow shafts extending from the Queen's Chamber remained almost completely unknown. Their dimensions were simply too small for any person to enter. More than 4,500 years after the pyramid's construction, these silent passages had never been explored beyond the point where human hands could reach. It was one of the last untouched places inside one of the world's most famous monuments. Rather than breaking through ancient stone or widening the shafts, researchers searched for a different solution. Advances in robotics had begun transforming industries around the world, allowing machines to perform tasks too dangerous or too confined for people. Archaeologists realized that the same technology might finally allow them to investigate the hidden passages without damaging the pyramid itself. In 1993, German engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink developed a specialized robotic vehicle specifically designed for this extraordinary challenge. Named Upuaut, after the ancient Egyptian jackal-headed deity, whose name means opener of the ways, the small machine measured only a few centimeters across. Equipped with electric motors, cameras, powerful lights, and precision wheels capable of climbing steep limestone passages, Upuaut represented a remarkable combination of modern engineering and archaeological ambition. Unlike previous exploration methods, the robot could travel where no human had ever gone. On the day of the mission, researchers gathered inside the Queen's Chamber, where the southern shaft begins just above the floor. The opening itself appeared almost insignificant, barely large enough for the robot to enter. For thousands of years, darkness had filled the narrow passage. No footsteps had echoed there. No voices had disturbed the silence. The limestone walls had remained exactly as the builders had left them during the reign of Khufu. As Upuaut slowly crossed the threshold, it became the first explorer to enter this forgotten corridor since the pyramid was completed. The robot advanced cautiously, climbing the shaft at an angle of about 39 degrees. Progress was slow but steady. Every few centimeters, its cameras transmitted live images back to the research team waiting inside the chamber. The limestone walls appeared remarkably smooth, showing careful craftsmanship despite the extremely confined space. Engineers watched each movement closely, aware that a mechanical failure could leave the robot permanently trapped inside the pyramid. Meter after meter, the robot continued climbing. The passage twisted slightly, but remained astonishingly straight for most of its length. Dust that had settled over millennia lay undisturbed on the floor. Every new image confirmed that no previous explorer had ever reached this place. The atmosphere inside the control room grew increasingly tense as the distance traveled exceeded anything previously imagined. Around 60 meters from the entrance, the unexpected finally appeared. The camera revealed what looked unmistakably like a carefully carved limestone block, completely sealing the end of the shaft. Unlike the surrounding walls, this stone stood upright like a miniature doorway. Even more surprising were two small copper fittings protruding from its lower half. They resembled tiny handles, although they were far too delicate to function as ordinary door hardware. The discovery stunned everyone watching the live video feed. For centuries, historians had debated whether the Queen's chamber shafts simply disappeared inside the pyramid or reached some unknown destination. Now, for the first time, there was direct evidence that the passage ended intentionally. Someone had deliberately placed this stone at the end of the shaft during construction more than 4,500 years earlier. But why? Was it simply a symbolic feature with no space beyond it? Did it conceal another chamber? Was it protecting something hidden deeper inside the monument? The robot could go no farther. Its journey had ended only a few centimeters from the mysterious stone. The questions, however, were only beginning. News of the discovery spread rapidly around the world. Newspapers described it as a hidden door inside the Great Pyramid. Television documentaries speculated about secret chambers, forgotten treasures, and lost knowledge waiting beyond the limestone barrier. Public imagination quickly raced far ahead of the available evidence. Archaeologists, however, responded with far greater caution. They understood that extraordinary discoveries required extraordinary patience. A single stone with two copper fittings could not reveal its purpose through speculation alone. The only way to solve the mystery would be to find a method of looking beyond it without destroying one of the world's greatest archaeological monuments. After more than 4 millennia of silence, the Great Pyramid had revealed something entirely unexpected. Yet instead of answering one of history's oldest mysteries, it had created an even greater one. The discovery made by Upuaut in 1993 captured the world's imagination almost instantly. A small limestone block, standing at the end of a narrow shaft and fitted with two tiny copper pieces, became one of the most discussed archaeological mysteries of the 20th century. Newspapers described it as a hidden door. Television documentaries suggested it might protect a secret chamber untouched since the reign of Khufu. Popular books proposed everything from lost royal treasures to forgotten archives of ancient knowledge. Yet behind the excitement, archaeologists remained remarkably cautious. The truth was simple. No one knew what lay beyond the stone because no one had ever seen the other side. The only way to answer the question was to return with better technology. Designing such a mission, however, proved far more difficult than it first appeared. The shaft was only about 20 centimeters wide, leaving almost no room for equipment. Any attempt to force the stone open could permanently damage one of the most important monuments in human history. The investigation would need to be as gentle as possible. Engineers spent years developing a new robotic system capable of doing something no machine had ever attempted before. Instead of pushing against the mysterious stone, the new robot would carefully drill a tiny hole only a few millimeters wide through the limestone block. A miniature fiber optic camera could then be inserted through the opening, allowing researchers to observe whatever existed beyond without removing or destroying the barrier itself. It was an extraordinary engineering challenge, combining archaeology, robotics, optics, and conservation into a single mission. In September 2002, after years of preparation, the robot finally entered the southern shaft once again. Millions of people watched the live broadcast as the machine slowly climbed toward the mysterious stone discovered 9 years earlier. When it finally arrived, the tiny drill began its careful work. Every movement was performed with extreme precision. Archaeologists understood that there would never be a second chance if something went wrong. After patiently drilling through the limestone, the camera was gently inserted through the narrow opening. For the first time in more than 4,500 years, human eyes were about to see what lay beyond the so-called door. The images appeared on monitors around the world. Behind the limestone block was another small empty space measuring only a short distance in length. At the far end of that space stood another carefully shaped limestone block, remarkably similar to the first. Instead of solving the mystery, the robot had revealed an entirely new one. There had never been a hidden treasure room immediately beyond the first barrier. There was no forgotten burial chamber waiting behind it. Instead, the builders had intentionally created a small cavity ending at yet another sealed stone. The Great Pyramid seemed to be protecting something, or perhaps simply following a design whose meaning had been lost with time. Once again, speculation spread rapidly. Some suggested that the second stone represented another symbolic doorway connected to the pharaoh's spiritual journey. Others believed additional hidden spaces might still exist beyond the second barrier. A few proposed that the shafts themselves were never intended to be opened at all, and that their true purpose had always been ceremonial rather than practical. Despite countless theories, none could be confirmed. The available evidence simply did not allow a definitive conclusion. More than a decade later, another technological breakthrough offered a fresh opportunity. In 2011, researchers sent an even smaller robotic camera into the northern shaft of the Queen's Chamber. This passage proved even more complicated than the southern one, containing several sharp bends that earlier robots had been unable to navigate. The new camera successfully reached another sealed limestone block. This time, however, the images revealed something extraordinary. On the floor near the barrier were small red construction marks, painted by the original builders thousands of years earlier. These symbols, invisible to every generation before modern robotics, demonstrated that human hands had once worked in these inaccessible passages during construction. The discovery offered a rare glimpse into the building process itself, rather than the completed monument. Even so, the ultimate purpose of the shafts remained uncertain. Today, archaeologists generally agree on one important point. The so-called doors are not ordinary doors in the modern sense. They do not appear to have been designed for regular use or repeated opening and closing. Instead, they are carefully constructed limestone barriers placed deliberately within passages that were themselves inaccessible after construction was completed. Whether they served symbolic, religious, architectural, or entirely different purposes, remains one of the Great Pyramid's most enduring unanswered questions. More than 30 years after Khufu first climbed into the Queen's Chamber shaft, those silent passages continue to challenge modern science. Each new investigation has revealed genuine discoveries, Yet every answer has produced even deeper questions. The Great Pyramid has once again demonstrated that its greatest mysteries are rarely solved all at once. Instead, they reveal themselves one careful step at a time. And soon, an entirely different technology would allow researchers to search not just inside the known passages, but through millions of tons of solid stone itself, without drilling, cutting, or disturbing a single block. For thousands of years, every attempt to uncover the Great Pyramid's hidden secrets followed the same basic approach. Explorers entered its passages, measured its chambers, searched behind walls, and occasionally drilled through carefully selected blocks. Although these efforts produced remarkable discoveries, they also faced an unavoidable limitation. Researchers could investigate only the spaces they could physically reach. Everything else remained hidden behind millions of tons of solid limestone. By the beginning of the 21st century, archaeologists realized that if they truly wanted to understand the pyramid, they would need a completely different way of looking inside it, one that required no tunnels, no excavation, and no damage to the monument itself. Surprisingly, the solution did not come from archaeology. It came from particle physics. Every second, invisible particles known as muons pass naturally through Earth's atmosphere. These tiny particles are created when cosmic rays from deep space collide with molecules high above our planet. Traveling at nearly the speed of light, billions of muons continuously pass through our bodies, buildings, mountains, and even ancient monuments without us ever noticing. Most pass straight through matter, but some are absorbed depending on the thickness and density of the material they encounter. Physicists realized that by measuring how many muons successfully passed through an object, they could create an image of its internal structure without opening it. The technique works much like a medical X-ray, except that instead of using artificial radiation, it relies entirely on naturally occurring particles arriving from outer space. This remarkable method had already been used to study volcanoes, nuclear reactors, and geological formations. The obvious question soon followed. Could it also reveal hidden spaces inside the Great Pyramid? In 2015, an international team of researchers launched one of the most ambitious archaeological investigations ever attempted. Known as the Scan Pyramids Project, the mission brought together Egyptologists, engineers, physicists, and imaging specialists from several countries. Their goal was simple in theory, but extraordinarily difficult in practice. Search the Great Pyramid for unknown internal spaces without disturbing a single stone. To accomplish this, the team combined several advanced technologies, including infrared thermography, three-dimensional laser scanning, and most importantly, muon detection. Sensitive particle detectors were carefully positioned inside and around the pyramid. For months, they silently recorded the steady stream of cosmic muons passing through the monument. The process required extraordinary patience. Unlike ordinary cameras that capture an image in an instant, muon detectors build their pictures gradually as countless particles travel through the stone over time. Every recorded muon added another tiny piece to an invisible map hidden inside the pyramid. Eventually, patterns began to emerge. Most of the monument appeared exactly as expected, confirming the accuracy of existing architectural models. But one area produced an unexpected result. Above the Grand Gallery, researchers detected significantly more muons than should have been able to pass through if solid stone occupied that location. The only reasonable explanation was the presence of an empty space. At first, the team remained cautious. Scientific discoveries require careful verification, especially when studying one of the world's most famous archaeological sites. Independent detectors using different technologies continued collecting data. Months passed as researchers compared results, eliminated possible errors, and repeated their calculations. Each new measurement pointed toward the same conclusion. Hidden above the Grand Gallery was a previously unknown void, unlike any chamber documented before. In November 2017, the discovery was officially announced. The newly identified space, now commonly known as the Big Void, measured at least 30 meters in length, making it one of the largest internal spaces discovered inside the Great Pyramid since the 19th century. The announcement immediately captured worldwide attention. Newspapers described it as the pyramid's biggest discovery in generations. Scientists celebrated the success of a completely non-invasive method that had revealed something invisible for more than 4,500 years. Yet the most remarkable aspect of the discovery was not simply the existence of the void. It was the fact that humanity had located it without removing a single stone. For the first time in history, researchers had successfully looked through one of the largest monuments ever built, using particles that had traveled across the universe. It was a perfect example of how modern science could answer ancient questions while preserving the past for future generations. Yet despite the excitement, one crucial mystery remained unsolved. Detecting a hidden space was not the same as understanding it. The instruments could reveal its approximate size and location, but they could not explain why it had been built, what shape it truly possessed, or whether it connected to any known chamber. Once again, the Great Pyramid had offered a glimpse of another secret, while carefully withholding its full story. The discovery of the Big Void in 2017 was one of the most important moments in the modern study of the Great Pyramid. For the first time in more than a century, archaeologists had confirmed the existence of a previously unknown internal space inside the monument. Yet almost immediately, a familiar pattern emerged. Every major discovery inside the Great Pyramid seemed to answer one question while creating several new ones. The Big Void was no exception. Researchers now knew that the space existed, but almost everything else about it remained uncertain. Was it a hidden chamber, a structural feature, an unfinished corridor, or something no one had yet imagined? The evidence simply did not allow a definitive answer. One possibility is that the void played an architectural role rather than a ceremonial one. Ancient Egyptian builders demonstrated remarkable skill in distributing enormous loads throughout the pyramid. Above the king's chamber, they constructed 5 relieving chambers to prevent the granite ceiling from collapsing under millions of tons of stone. Some engineers have suggested that the newly discovered void may have served a similar purpose, reducing pressure above the Grand Gallery or helping stabilize the massive structure during construction. If this interpretation is correct, the space may have been an ingenious engineering solution hidden inside the monument from the very beginning. Others remain unconvinced. The Big Void appears unusually large for a simple structural cavity, and its position above one of the pyramid's most important internal spaces has encouraged alternative interpretations. Could it be an undiscovered chamber connected to rituals surrounding the king's burial? Might it conceal passages that have remained inaccessible since the reign of Khufu? At present, there is no evidence proving either idea. Modern archaeology has become increasingly careful about separating possibilities from established facts. The history of pyramid research is filled with dramatic claims that later proved incorrect, and today's researchers are determined not to repeat those mistakes. The same careful approach applies to many of the pyramid's other mysteries. No inscription has ever been found inside the Great Pyramid explaining its design. Unlike later royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings, its walls contain no carved scenes describing the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife. There are no written instructions explaining the purpose of the shafts, the grand gallery, or the newly discovered void. The builders left behind one of humanity's greatest monuments, yet almost no direct explanation of how they intended future generations to understand it. As a result, modern archaeology often relies on careful measurement, comparison with other pyramids, experimental engineering, and the broader context of ancient Egyptian religion rather than clear written evidence. In recent years, researchers have continued searching for new ways to investigate the pyramid without harming it. Improved muon detectors, higher resolution imaging systems, and increasingly sophisticated computer models promise to reveal even more details hidden within the monument's interior. Some scientists hope that future generations of particle imaging may eventually determine the exact shape of the big void or identify additional hidden spaces elsewhere inside the pyramid. Others believe that tiny robotic systems, far smaller than those used during the 1990s, could one day explore places that remain unreachable today. Every technological advance offers another opportunity to ask questions that previous generations could never investigate. Yet perhaps the greatest lesson of the Great Pyramid is not about technology at all. It is about patience. For centuries, people believed the monument had already surrendered all of its secrets. Then a hidden shaft was discovered. Later, a robot found a sealed limestone barrier. After that came a second barrier, ancient construction markings, and finally, an enormous hidden void revealed by particles arriving from deep space. Each generation believed it had reached the end of the mystery, only to discover that another chapter still waited beneath the stone. More than 4,500 years after its completion, the Great Pyramid remains the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one still standing. It has survived earthquakes, invasions, changing civilizations, and the relentless passage of time. It has been measured with rulers, mapped with lasers, explored by robots, and scanned using particles born among the stars. And still, it refuses to reveal everything. Perhaps that is why the Great Pyramid continues to fascinate us. Not because it is filled with supernatural secrets, but because it reminds us that even in an age of satellites, artificial intelligence, and advanced science, humanity has not answered every question about its own past. Some mysteries endure not because they are impossible to solve, but because knowledge advances one careful discovery at a time. As you leave the quiet passages of Giza behind and imagine the evening sun settling over the desert once more, the pyramid remains exactly where it has always stood, silent, patient, and watchful. Somewhere within its millions of carefully placed stones, there may still be spaces no human has ever seen. Whether future explorers uncover them or not, the Great Pyramid has already achieved something extraordinary. It has connected thousands of years of human curiosity into a single, unbroken journey. And perhaps that journey, more than any hidden chamber or forgotten passage, is the greatest secret it has preserved all along. Few monuments in human history have inspired as many extraordinary stories as the Great Pyramid. For more than 2,000 years, people have looked at its immense size, remarkable precision, and mysterious interior, and concluded that ordinary human beings could not possibly have built it. Every generation has created new explanations, each reflecting the beliefs and imagination of its own time. Ancient writers spoke of forgotten kings and unimaginable treasures. Medieval legends connected the pyramid to biblical figures and survivors of the Great Flood. In modern times, entirely new ideas emerged, suggesting that the monument was built by visitors from other worlds, powered by unknown forms of energy, or designed by a lost civilization possessing advanced technology. These stories continue to capture public imagination, appearing in books, television programs, and across the internet. Yet when archaeologists examine the available evidence, a very different picture begins to emerge. Perhaps the most widespread claim is that the Great Pyramid could not have been built using the tools available to ancient Egypt. Supporters of this idea often point to the monument's enormous stone blocks, its remarkable alignment with true north, or the precision of its construction. At first glance, these achievements certainly appear astonishing. However, archaeology has gradually uncovered evidence showing that each of these accomplishments can be explained through the steady development of Egyptian engineering over many generations. The Great Pyramid did not appear suddenly. It was preceded by decades of experimentation under Pharaoh Khufu, whose builders learned valuable lessons while constructing the Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid. Excavations have revealed quarries, copper tools, dolerite pounding stones, workers' settlements, transport systems, and construction techniques that together provide a coherent explanation for how the monument was built. While many details remain uncertain, there is no archaeological evidence requiring unknown technology or supernatural intervention. Another popular theory suggests that the pyramid's dimensions secretly encode advanced scientific knowledge impossible for ancient civilizations to possess. Some writers have claimed that its measurements reveal the speed of light, the value of pi, the Earth's circumference, or even predictions about future events. These ideas often sound convincing because they involve impressive numbers and mathematical relationships. Yet historians point out that when enough measurements are available, it is remarkably easy to discover numerical coincidences. By selecting certain units, rounding values, or comparing unrelated dimensions, almost any large structure can appear to contain hidden codes. Scientific investigation requires more than interesting coincidences. It requires evidence showing that the builders intentionally designed the monument to communicate such information. So far, no ancient Egyptian inscription or archaeological discovery supports these extraordinary mathematical claims. Few ideas have attracted more attention than the suggestion that extraterrestrials helped build the Great Pyramid. According to this theory, The monument's scale and precision supposedly exceed human ability, making outside intervention the only possible explanation. Although the idea has become popular through documentaries, novels, and films, professional archaeologists overwhelmingly reject it because it is unsupported by evidence. Every year, excavations continue to uncover more information about the people who lived and worked at Giza. Their villages, tools, food, administrative records, and cemeteries all point toward the same conclusion. The pyramid was built by ancient Egyptians using the knowledge, organization, and resources available to their civilization. Ironically, attributing the achievement to mysterious outsiders diminishes the remarkable accomplishments of the very people who actually created one of humanity's greatest engineering masterpieces. Other legends focus on mysterious energies supposedly hidden inside the pyramid. Some visitors have claimed that food remains fresher, razor blades become sharper, or meditation becomes more powerful within pyramid-shaped structures. Despite decades of testing, controlled scientific experiments have found no reliable evidence supporting these claims. The Great Pyramid is extraordinary because of its architecture, history, and engineering, not because it possesses supernatural physical properties. Its true achievements are already remarkable enough without adding effects that cannot be demonstrated. Modern archaeology does not reject unusual ideas simply because they are unusual. Scientists remain open to any explanation that can be supported by convincing evidence. Throughout history, many surprising discoveries have transformed our understanding of the ancient world. Hidden chambers have been found, forgotten cities have been uncovered, long-lost civilizations have emerged from beneath the sand. But each of these discoveries earned acceptance through careful observation, repeated testing, and independently verified evidence rather than speculation alone. The same standard applies to every new claim about the Great Pyramid. Perhaps the greatest misconception is that solving one mystery will somehow explain everything. In reality, archaeology rarely works that way. Every genuine discovery usually creates new questions alongside new answers. The Great Pyramid has been studied for centuries, yet it continues to surprise researchers with unexpected findings, such as the hidden void discovered through muon imaging. That discovery did not prove ancient myths true, nor did it eliminate every mystery. Instead, it reminded us that careful science remains the most reliable path toward understanding the past. The Great Pyramid does not need aliens, lost civilizations, or magical powers to inspire wonder. Its greatest mystery has always been the civilization that imagined it, organized its construction, and completed it with astonishing skill more than 4,500 years ago. Sometimes the real story is even more extraordinary than the legends that grew around it. After centuries of exploration, thousands of scientific studies, and some of the most advanced technology ever applied to an ancient monument, the Great Pyramid continues to guard many of its secrets. We know far more today than researchers did even a few decades ago. We understand how the monument fits within the evolution of pyramid construction. We have identified the quarries that supplied much of its stone, uncovered the villages where many of its workers lived, and mapped its internal passages with extraordinary precision. Robots have entered spaces no human could reach, and cosmic particles from deep space have revealed hidden voids inside millions of tons of limestone. Yet despite all of these achievements, some of the pyramid's most important questions remain unanswered. One of those questions concerns the newly discovered Big Void. Although scientists are confident that the space exists, its exact shape and purpose are still unknown. Is it a single large chamber, a series of connected spaces, or an architectural feature designed to reduce weight above the Grand Gallery? At present, no instrument can provide a complete picture of its interior. Researchers continue refining muon imaging and other non-invasive techniques, hoping that future observations will reveal more detail without disturbing the ancient structure. The purpose of the Queen's chamber shafts also remains uncertain. Their careful construction clearly indicates that they were important, yet no inscription explains why they were built. Were they symbolic pathways for the king's spirit? Did they serve a practical role during construction? Or were they part of a religious tradition that has simply disappeared from history? The discovery of the limestone barriers and the ancient red construction marks showed that the shafts were deliberately planned, but their true meaning continues to escape us. Even the construction process itself still contains unanswered questions. Archaeologists generally agree on the tools, materials, workforce, and overall organization involved, but the exact methods used to lift the heaviest granite blocks into the king's chamber remain debated. Different ramp theories continue to be tested through computer simulations and experimental archaeology. Each offers convincing explanations for some parts of the puzzle while leaving other details unresolved. This uncertainty should not be mistaken for ignorance. Instead, it reflects the complexity of one of the greatest engineering projects in human history. There are also questions that may never be answered completely. Khufu's mummy has never been found. The treasures that once accompanied his burial, if they were ever placed inside the pyramid, disappeared thousands of years ago. No surviving text written during his reign describes the construction of the monument in detail. Unlike many later Egyptian tombs, the Great Pyramid contains almost no inscriptions explaining its purpose or symbolism. The builders left behind an extraordinary structure, but almost no written instructions for those who would one day try to understand it. For scientists, however, unanswered questions are not failures. They are opportunities. Every generation develops better tools than the one before it. 200 years ago, researchers relied on ropes, candles, and measuring sticks. A century later, they used precision surveying instruments. Today, they use lasers, robotics, three-dimensional modeling, and detectors capable of measuring particles that have traveled across the universe. Tomorrow's archaeologists may possess technologies that we cannot yet imagine. Discoveries that seem impossible today may become routine in the future. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson the Great Pyramid offers. It reminds us that knowledge is never truly finished. Every answer expands the horizon of what remains unknown. Curiosity does not disappear when a mystery is solved. It grows stronger. The Great Pyramid has inspired explorers, engineers, historians, and scientists for more than 4,500 years, because it continues to challenge each generation to look a little closer and think a little deeper. As the desert grows quiet and the evening light fades across the Giza plateau, the pyramid remains exactly where it has stood since the age of Khufu. Wind continues to move across its weathered stones, just as it did when the first workers placed them there. Beneath those immense blocks are stories that have already been uncovered and others that may still be waiting in silence. Whether future discoveries reveal new chambers, explain the hidden shafts, or simply deepen our appreciation for the people who built this extraordinary monument, one truth is certain. The Great Pyramid is not remarkable because every mystery has been solved. It is remarkable because, after 4.5 millennia, it still invites humanity to keep searching. Long before satellites circled the Earth or telescopes looked toward distant galaxies, there was a monument rising from the desert that seemed to challenge the limits of human imagination. For more than 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid has stood against wind, earthquakes, invasions, and the passing of countless civilizations. It has watched empires rise and disappear. It has witnessed the birth of new religions, the spread of great civilizations, the discovery of continents, the invention of machines, and humanity's first steps beyond our own planet. Through all of it, the Great Pyramid has remained almost exactly where the builders intended it to stand, continuing to inspire the same sense of wonder that it did in the age of Pharaoh Khufu. Its influence reaches far beyond ancient Egypt. Greek historians traveled great distances simply to see it with their own eyes. Roman emperors admired it as one of the greatest achievements of the ancient world. Medieval travelers carried stories of its immense size across continents, while explorers of the modern age filled books with descriptions, sketches, and measurements that introduced the monument to people who would never visit Egypt themselves. Eventually, the Great Pyramid became the oldest and only surviving member of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, earning a place not only in history, but in the shared imagination of humanity. Its impact can also be seen in architecture. Throughout history, countless monuments have borrowed inspiration from the pyramid's simple yet powerful form. From memorials and museums to modern skyscrapers, its unmistakable silhouette has appeared again and again in different cultures and different centuries. Few buildings have become such universal symbols of endurance, ambition, and human achievement. Even people who know little about ancient Egypt can recognize the outline of the Great Pyramid instantly. It has become one of the most recognizable structures ever created. Yet perhaps its greatest legacy is not architectural at all. It is intellectual. The Great Pyramid has encouraged generations of scientists, engineers, mathematicians, historians, and archaeologists to ask questions that reach far beyond the monument itself. How did ancient civilizations organize such enormous projects? How did they solve engineering problems without modern machinery? How much knowledge has been lost through the passing of time? Every attempt to answer these questions has expanded our understanding not only of Egypt, but of human civilization as a whole. The pyramid has also taught an important lesson about the nature of discovery. During the 19th century, many researchers believed there was little left to learn from the monument. Then came more accurate surveys. Later came the discovery of workers' villages, hidden shafts, robotic exploration, and the big void revealed through cosmic particles. Each generation believed it had reached the limits of knowledge, only to discover that the pyramid still had something new to reveal. In that sense, the Great Pyramid is more than an archaeological site. It is a reminder that curiosity should never come to an end. Modern technology continues to transform the questions we are able to ask. Artificial intelligence now helps analyze enormous archaeological datasets. Three-dimensional modeling allows researchers to reconstruct damaged structures with incredible accuracy. Particle imaging continues improving year after year, offering the possibility of seeing deeper inside ancient monuments than ever before. The tools change, but the goal remains the same: to understand the people who lived thousands of years before us and to preserve their achievements for those who come after us. Perhaps that is why millions of visitors continue traveling to Giza every year. Some arrive hoping to experience one of the greatest monuments ever built. Others come searching for history, mystery, or simply a moment of quiet reflection beneath stones that have witnessed nearly the entire course of recorded civilization. Whatever their reason, almost everyone leaves with the same realization: the Great Pyramid is far more than an ancient tomb. It is a connection between the distant past and the present, reminding us that human curiosity, creativity, and determination are among the oldest traditions our species possesses. Even after thousands of years, the Great Pyramid continues to ask the same silent question of every generation that stands before it. What else remains waiting to be discovered? That question has inspired explorers for centuries, and it will almost certainly inspire many more in the centuries still to come. As our journey through the Great Pyramid comes to an end, it becomes clear that this monument is far more than a collection of carefully carved stones rising above the sands of Giza. It is the product of countless human hands, remarkable engineering, extraordinary organization, and a belief that life continued beyond death. Every block placed upon another represented not only physical labor, but also a vision that stretched far beyond the lifetime of a single generation. Thousands of people worked together toward a goal they knew they might never live to see completed, leaving behind a monument that would outlast nearly every civilization that followed. For centuries, people have searched the Great Pyramid hoping to uncover one final answer that would explain everything. Yet perhaps there was never meant to be a single answer. History rarely offers perfect conclusions. Instead, it reveals itself little by little, through fragments of evidence patiently gathered across generations. Every discovery inside the pyramid has reminded us that the past is not a finished story. It is a conversation that continues every time a new question is asked. Today, the Great Pyramid remains one of the most carefully studied buildings on Earth. It has been measured with extraordinary precision, explored by robots, scanned with lasers, and examined using particles that arrive from deep space. Even so, it continues to surprise us. Hidden spaces may still exist within its enormous structure. New technologies may one day reveal details that are impossible to detect today. Future archaeologists may answer questions that seem beyond our reach, just as discoveries made during the last few decades would have seemed impossible to earlier generations. But perhaps the most remarkable part of the Great Pyramid is not the mysteries that remain hidden inside it. It is what the monument reveals about the people who built it. They lived in a world without electricity, engines, computers, or modern machinery. Yet they created a structure so carefully planned that it still challenges engineers and scientists more than 4,500 years later. Their achievement reminds us that human imagination, determination, and cooperation have always been among our greatest strengths. As the evening sun slowly disappears beyond the western horizon and the desert grows quiet once again, the Great Pyramid continues its silent watch over the Giza plateau. The same stars that guided ancient Egyptian priests begin to appear overhead. A gentle wind moves across weathered limestone that has endured the passing of thousands of years. In that peaceful silence, it is easy to understand why this monument has inspired wonder for so many generations. Not because it claims to have all the answers, but because it quietly reminds us that there will always be more to discover. Perhaps that is the true secret of the Great Pyramid. Its greatest treasure was never hidden behind a sealed stone door or inside an undiscovered chamber. Its greatest treasure has always been the curiosity it awakens in every generation that stands before it. The desire to ask questions, to search for evidence, and to better understand the people who came before us is a journey that never truly ends. Thank you for joining me on tonight's journey through history and science. If you enjoyed this peaceful exploration, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps this channel continue creating long, relaxing documentaries designed to help you unwind, learn something new, and gently drift off to sleep. If there is another fascinating mystery from history or science you would like to explore in a future episode, feel free to share your suggestion in the comments below. I always enjoy reading your ideas. And now, wherever you are in the world, I hope you can leave behind the noise of the day, slow your thoughts, and enjoy a peaceful night's rest. Thank you for spending this time with me. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next journey through history. Good night.